switch into Plus R, just go full attack here. So I got no one coming, which is nice. I'm gonna take off. So start at first gear, shift right before red line, ride it out, shift it again. Yeah, doing some really good speed. Welcome to Drive Culture. I'm Jonathan Rivers, and today I have a 2025 Honda Civic Type R. And I'm going to tell you why this might be the best generation of all the Type Rs. So we'll go over the exterior, the interior, the powertrain, and of course, take it for a drive. So if this is content you're after or you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. And with that, let's get after it. Now, guys, here we are with the FL5 Honda Civic Type R. And for all you Type R fanboys out there, you're gonna know all the generations, you're gonna know all the history on Type R. But let me take a step back and walk through the history of Type R because it is significant. There's actually been 6 generations of Type R. Now, many don't know that because here in the United States, only 2 of those generations were sold here stateside. Everything else was kind of forbidden fruit being sold in Japan, Europe, and other marketplaces. In fact, the Type R nameplate was first launched by Honda back in 1997, guys. So that's been a long time since there was a Type R in the marketplace. And when that car launched in Japan, it was a really big deal. It changed the game. And quite frankly, you guys look back and you all know all the chassis codes of each generation of Type R. So here we go. The first one was the EK9, then you had the EP3, and then you had the FD2. Now, those first generations were all, naturally aspirated, high revving, kind of just little lightweight track monsters. But it wasn't until Honda first introduced turbocharging to the Type R nameplate that they really elevated the overall dynamic performance, right? So actually, a lot of people don't know because again, only 2 generations were sold here, but there was a previous turbocharged model called the FK2. Now, that was a Europe spec Type R, kind of an egg-shaped, design to it. And that was the first one to get that 2-liter VTEC turbocharged engine. Since then, we had the FK8, which was sold here in the US, and now this latest generation, based off the 11th generation of the Civic, the FL5 Type R. Okay, so there you go. There's the history, there's the rundown. But here we are, like I said, with this latest model year, latest generation of Type R. So let's talk about pricing, right? The Civic Type R is pretty easy. You go to the Honda website, there's one trim to build. There's really no other options, right? You pretty much just choose your color on the exterior because there is no options for the interior. So the price right now, MSRP, is $45,895 before DNH and paint. Now, I know you guys will say, wait a minute, you can't get a Type R for that much money. And that's mostly because, yes, a lot of dealers sell them for over MSRP. It's kind of the whole supply and demand. But, anyway, the MSRP, which some people I've read on forums have been able to buy the car at, is still less than $46,000 and has grown over the model years and since the FK8 came into market. But given where some of the competitors are and the other vehicles in the marketplace that offer this kind of dynamic performance, the manual transmission, it's pretty much priced right where it needs to be. But let's talk about the paint, right? So most, Type Rs you're going to see probably driving around the street are going to be that famous championship white. That's a Type R exclusive color. It looks really good on this car. It was kind of the launch color for FL5 Type R. And so that's generally what you're going to see in the streets. You also might see a lot of the Boost Blue. I feel like I see a lot of those around. But this color here is that Sonic Gray Pearl. And I don't see too many Type Rs in this paint color. So let me know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. What is your favorite exterior color on this new FL5 Type R? I think Sonic Gray looks fantastic, right? Now, it is an extra $455 on top of that MSRP, but I think it's definitely worth it given all the accents that really make the paint pop. So next, let's go ahead and do a full exterior walk around of this FL5 Civic Type R. All right, guys, here we are with this 2025 Honda Civic Type R FL5 chassis code. And like I said in the intro here, man, the Sonic Gray Pearl looks fantastic on this car. It really does. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the championship white. Boost Blue, I think, was probably and maybe still one of my favorite colors, but there's something about this Sonic Gray Pearl with all the black and red accents, obviously the red interior, but man, I think it looks really good. So let's go ahead and dive into the styling, right? So as we know, this is the based on the 11th generation Honda Civic. You know, the 10th generation was much more angular, and therefore the FK8 Type R of that generation was much more angular, and you know had a lot of design work on the body. But this 11th generation Civic overall went to a much more clean kind of European design language, and thus the FL5 kind of carries that over. But don't get me wrong, it still looks muscular and sporty, you know, at pretty much every angle on the vehicle. So let's go ahead and take a look. There is the hood, guys. Very sharp character lines on the outside that actually come down here to this heat extractor. You can see the nice surfacing there. But yes, the heat extractor is functional, as are pretty much most of the vents and openings on this car. And that was kind of a pain point on the FK8 because there were some ducts and vents that weren't functional, and so a lot of people were maybe upset about that. But I still thought the FK8 looked good, but this, like I said, has a much cleaner design and everything is generally functional. So also you got some premium LED headlights, LED daytime running lights, look really menacing coming up on you, especially at night. And you got some nice like design work in there. Looks really premium. So let's go ahead and take a look at the front grille and front fascia. So looks very mean. This car is a lot wider than the standard 5-door Civic. When that width is shown, you can really see the way that the front fenders kind of bulge out. And it truly has this kind of like integrated wide body kit to it. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and take a look at this red Honda badge. That's super iconic. I mean, people literally put these on their SI, on their base Civics, because that red Honda badge has a lot of meaning, a lot of heritage behind it. But then if you peek really closely, you'll see the Type R badge as well. And the word type is kind of like a black chrome and makes the R pop really good. But you got that honeycomb opening there. It is functional. You can see the radiators behind it. And if you go a little bit further down, you'll get what I was talking about with the big menacing opening there. And although some of the newer kind of hybrid Civics, you know, made it a lot more aggressive up front, they tried to really kind of mimic the way the Type R looks with that huge gaping opening down below. But the big difference is obviously on the Type R, you got that huge front mount intercooler totally exposed to help you know, keep things cool. So let's go ahead and work our way to the side. Again, I think this car has a really good side profile. Here you go, based off of that hatchback Civic. There she is, full side profile, guys. And you know, again, even though it's that same 5-door design, like I said, the extra width in the body, obviously the wing in the back, which we'll get to here in a sec, really helps the Type R stand out. It's kind of instantly recognizable. So let's go ahead and talk about the wheels and tires next. So here we go. Everything stock again. This is just how it comes. Pretty much this is the only option that you get. So here you got some 19-inch wheels and they look great. They're a matte black finish. You got black lug nuts. You got the red Honda logo right there in the middle of the wheel. Looks so good. And you know, stock, it comes with some really aggressive street tires. So these are Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires, and this particular size, of course, square setup, these are some wide tires. These are 265 30 ZR19 rated tires, guys. Now, you know, if you go to your dealer and if you look online, you can find pretty much this exact same spec and get a Michelin, you know, kind of Cup 2, like a racing tire if you really want to track the car. But those don't last very long on the street. And so these Michelin Pilot Sport 4S can be used on the track and kind of offer you a good balance of street performance as well. Right behind that, you see that massive 4-piston Brembo brake, the 2-piece rotors. You know, again, the brakes on this car are fantastic. And we'll talk about that here during the drive. Car sits really low, consider that a stock. Again, has that adjustable damper and suspension. Again, we'll talk about how that behaves and feels during the drive. Here you can also see one cool thing is the actual valve stem. It's not your typical design. It was designed that way on purpose. And again, it has like a angle out. It doesn't like shoot out straight. So it's a really kind of unique design and a really premium valve stem design and cover as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the body work. So here, again, you have a functional duct that you can see out the back. It is actually open down low, kind of creating a small air curtain along the side of the vehicle. That black side sill spoiler also is shaped and designed to help carry the wind along the lower part of the vehicle as well. Here you got, black mirror caps, LED turn signals. They're not power folding, but again, they still are premium design. The black treatment around the windows. You do get the smart entry on the front driver and passenger doors. So that's a nice premium feature. But let's make our way to the rear. So again, square setup for the wheels and tires. Still get some high performance brakes. You don't get Brembo calipers in the rear though. At least they are painted red and they do look nice. As for the fuel tank, if you guys have watched my video with Honda Pro Jason, he's not a big fan of the fact that this car doesn't come with a capless filler cap. You actually have a traditional gas cap that you have to take off. Really bothered Jason, didn't bother me so much, but there you go. So let's go ahead and take a look from the rear, starting with this kind of rear 3/4. I mean, again, I think this is what really sets off the view and really makes it stand out compared to the regular 5-door Civic. Again, you can kind of see that the fenders there in the rear really jut out. I mean, it's an exclusive body panel for the Civic Type R. And then you just got that awesome, wing. Now, the wing is always going to be painted black. And then you got those kind of anodized stanchions that it sits on. So let me know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Do you think the wing, should have been body color? I have seen lots of owners on the various forums actually paint it body color. And I think on certain body colors, it actually looks really good. Others, I feel like you could just leave it black. But let me know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. So we'll kind of do the full rear view, which looks really awesome and kind of shows off the Type R sporty intentions because you've got not only, again, that red H badge, but the Type R badge off to the right, the Civic badge off to the left. The Civic is also like a dark chrome, but man, down below you got this awesome rear diffuser. Very aggressive. You can see the ribs there. Totally unique fascia to the regular 5-door Civic, but come on guys, the exhaust. And yeah, the exhaust on this one is still super clean. Again, this car doesn't have a lot of miles on it yet. But yeah, it's a very big exhaust system with the center pipe being larger and having a larger finisher than the other ones. But you can also see that there is again, a lot of, and again, it's just a really great design. So next, let's go ahead and let's see, you got a rear wiper here, which is useful. And again, I'll just give you kind of an up close look on that rear wing. And the one thing about this rear spoiler too, is that the way it's shaped and placed is it actually doesn't get in your way when you're looking through your rear view mirror. So I think that was a really, really nice design. But with that, I think we've covered everything on the exterior of this FL5 Civic Type R. So next, let's go ahead and hop inside to talk about the interior. All right, guys, here we are inside the FL5 Civic Type R, and it is a really nice place to be. Obviously the regular Civic line of both the sedan, the hatchback, they all have a similar interior design language, but the Type R kind of takes that just to the next level. I mean, those interiors on the other Civics are actually really premium, have great features and touch points. The Type R kind of gives you all that plus more, and plus more in the sense that it's also just tastefully done in like a very sporty kind of race way. I mean, obviously we'll get to the seats here in a second, but there's just all these little details which really make this interior feel really special. So let's talk about it. I mean, overall, let's talk about the dash. So you still get the same premium materials that you get in the other Civics, like you get a soft touch dash up here, and then even that kind of honeycomb grille design that goes the entire length of the dash, even here on the driver's side as well. both of those look really premium. It just has this nice aluminum feel to it. Obviously, these little joysticks to help control the vents for the climate control. But the surround on the Type R is like a kind of a dark anodized finish, where on some of the other models is more of a piano black. This one, it just looks a little bit more premium given the choice of materials. Obviously, we'll talk about the serialized plaque that's over here that tells you, what was the build number of your exact Type R. So that's really special. And again, it shows that each car is unique. But again, it's just these kind of premium touch points, even kind of coming down here to the center area. So we'll get into the tech in a second, but just starting with the climate controls, you still get the dual zone climate controls. That's kind of very tactile feel with all the controls. Everything feels really premium. As you come further down into the center console area, you do get two USB-A charge ports. So you get one for data, one for charging, and a 12-volt socket next to that. Down below, you do get a wireless charge pad, which is a very nice feature. But then coming here, this is one of the areas that obviously is going to be different from the other Civics. I mean, one, because of the transmission, which we'll get to here in a second, but the overall dash and center console area is designed differently. And so this piece here is actually real aluminum. It looks and feels nice, has a very nice pattern to it. But here, of course, you got that 6-speed manual transmission. The shift knob is very premium, but because it is a real kind of like metal material, it will get very hot in the summer months and obviously very cold in the winter months. So it's funny, I've seen people actually buy these little like Honda hoodies and things that fit over the shift knob to prevent it from getting either too hot or too cold. The shift boot is like a nice leather material with some red contrast stitching. Off to the left, you got all your controls for the drive modes, your electronic parking brake and brake hold. But again, during the drive review, we'll talk about how all the drive modes work. Coming a little further back, you got two big cup holders. So again, lots of usability and a really nice just material here on the center armrest. It's like a suede material with red contrast stitching. There's plenty of space in the center console area, which is nice. But let's go ahead and next talk about the steering wheel. So it is awesome. It is a perfect diameter and size, just the right thickness, not too thick. Sometimes steering wheels can be too thick and sometimes they can be too thin. This is like the perfect balance. Leather material, red contrast stitching. The surround here, again, uses the same dark anodized material instead of something like a piano black, which also makes it look really premium. Same, easy usability as the other Civics. You got all your volume controls on the left, all your ADAS controls, cruise control stuff on the right. But there, right in front of you, got that red Honda badge, and it just looks so good. Very, very well done. Next, let's go ahead and talk about some of the materials on the door. You get a lot of the same touch points that you get on some of the other Civics, but there are some Type R exclusive components. So even this piece here on the center of the doors is, again, a different material. And there's also a LED light bar hidden there. And at night, it turns red. So again, none of the other Civics have that. So it's a very nice touch point. Here on the doors, you also get that same very nice and premium suede-like material, red contrast stitching. Everything looks and feels really high quality, including the window controls here on the driver's side door. Now, obviously, you're not going to get like memory seating and things like that because the seats are not power. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about these seats, because for me, they may not only be my favorite part of the car, but they may be some of the best seats in the industry, guys. Now, obviously, you got supercars and crazy high-end GT bucket seats, but the beauty of these seats are the fact that not only do they look amazing, feel amazing, they're still comfortable. Now, it's obviously difficult, to be honest, to get in and out. You kind of got to fall in and squeeze into the bolsters. But once you're in the bucket seats, man, like I said, these offer some of the best comfort in its class. And like I said, across the entire race industry, right? These are some awesome OEM seats. So let's talk about them, right? So again, there's a very nice red, color to them, red stitching throughout, perforations coming down, but it's just the the fine touches, right? So the Type R's embossed into the headrest. You have the space here to do the 5-point harness if that's something you really wanted to adopt. Very aggressive shoulder and side bolsters. I mean, these side bolsters are huge. And again, I'm not a very wide person or anything like that. So anybody much wider or bigger than me, you're going to be just locked in. I feel like I'm locked in, but that shows how aggressively bolstered they are here. But even down low, which again is part of the reason why you kind of got to, get over this first hump and fall into the seat, because that's how aggressive these hip bolsters are. You even have a split seat here, which just kind of helps with leg support as well. So like I said, manual seats for both the driver and passenger, but once you're in, I've done long road trips in an FL5 Type R, and you would think you'd be all beat up and tired, but it's actually the opposite. I got out of the car feeling like I really hadn't done a lot of miles, because the seats just kind of kept me coddled, and they're actually very soft. So that's the one nice thing about them. We'll show you here in the back, but the seats also have a really premium design in the back. It actually has Type R etched into the back. And again, just, these kind of fixed headrest seats really take Type R to the next level. So also, one thing that's worth pointing out on the Type R is, like I said, this is the only interior you get. So hopefully you like the seats, and hopefully you like the color of the seats, because this is the only option. You can only choose an exterior color difference for the FL5 Type R. But down below, all the carpet is red. All the floor mats are red. I mean, they are branded and they say Type R, so they're a higher quality, floor mat, and it's nice that they have that. But again, everything is red, true for the front and the rear. Now, lastly, let's go ahead and talk about some of the tech and audio. So in the FL5 Type R, you don't actually have to ever sacrifice for technology and features. You pretty much get almost all the same features and technologies you would get on the regular line of Civics. So first, let's talk about the 9-inch color touchscreen. So this gets you wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility, which is really nice. It hasn't been upgraded to the Google built-in version, but hey, at least you still get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Right in front of you, you got a 10.2-inch digital instrument cluster, completely customizable. Kind of gives you those standard gauges in the comfort and sport mode. Brings up your little Civic for all your ADAS and cruise control functions. But the real treat is when you go into the Plus R, the highest drive mode, the entire digital instrument gauge cluster just changes, and it gives you this full race meter. And I'll show you what that looks like. Looks super premium, gives you all kinds of readouts as well. Lastly, going back to that center screen, there's what's called the Honda Log R, the Logger app. And essentially that logs all your data, lets you, it shows you the G in every direction, brake performance, acceleration, shows your car in 3D. I mean, it's an entire built-in app that comes with the car. So that is something, again, exclusive to Type R and what really makes it special. Now, last two things we'll talk about is there is no sunroof, no moonroof on Type Rs. It's eliminated. So obviously that helps with weight, helps with dynamic performance. They can keep the vehicle, the roof a little bit lower as well. But let me know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Is that a thing? Is it a deal breaker for you that it doesn't have a moonroof or sunroof option? Is the same thing is true for the Acura Integra Type S? So let me know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. But lastly, we'll cover the audio. So yeah, even though you got the high performance like race version of the Civic, doesn't mean you have to skimp out with your audio. So you still get a 12 speaker premium Bose audio system. You can see the Bose branding up here on the A-pillars, and it sounds really good. You have to definitely, I think for me, to get the right amount of bass and sound, I had to tweak the equalizer a bit to get it just right. But once I did, man, it actually has really good audio performance. So I think we covered everything up front. So next, let's go ahead and check out the second row. All right, here we are in the second row of the Civic Type R. And surprisingly, there's a lot of space back here, guys. I mean, that's the advantage of it just being the same as the standard 5-door hatchback Civic, which if you've seen some of the other reviews on Drive Culture, we've got plenty of those on the hybrid and the non-Type R hatchback Civic. You get the same great space and interior. I'm 5'10". This is my actual driving position. I have got tons of knee room, can easily fit my feet up under these bucket seats. I got great headroom, shoulder room. Now, the one thing about the Civic Type R is that it's actually a 4-passenger vehicle, meaning this center seat here is really been turned into cup holders. There's no seat belt, nor is there a headrest. So where some of the other 5-door Civics can actually fit 5 people, the Civic Type R is limited to just 4. So it's important to note that. But you do get this kind of premium cup holder design down low. You could easily fit 2 pretty good sized cups back here. But like I said, there is no armrest for the second row. You do get the same kind of premium touch points on the door. You get the suede material, the contrast stitching, the Bose speakers. You don't get the LED lighting in the second row though, so that's a little bit of a difference from the first row. You do right in front of you, like as I showed you and mentioned before, you get the Type R branding on the back of the seat, so it's just something nice to look at while you're sitting back here. And it's worth noting that the seats in the back are black too, so it helps break up the red. There is some contrast between the materials on the seats, the doors, and things like that. And then just as a reference, I do have a child seat here in the rear, a booster seat. It gives you an idea of how much space your kids would have. This seat could probably go up a little bit further and the passenger still be comfortable, but it gives you an idea of how much space. But I easily think you could have a rear facing, child seat back here as well and have no problem. So, I mean, that's a pretty amazing feat considering that this is essentially a track car, right? So the fact that you can take 4 adults, you can take your kids and have all that usability is pretty impressive. But it gets even more impressive when you take a look in the rear. So next, let's go ahead and check out the cargo area. All right, here we are with the cargo space of the Honda Civic Type R. So no, power, tailgate here, obviously, but it's pretty easy to open up. You just pull the latch and it pops right open. And it reveals a ton of space back here. Like I said, this car is based off of the hatchback Civic, and you don't lose anything. Like you would think, okay, maybe they've got some crazy bracing in the back, or there's an extra hump in the floor for the suspension, or no, it's nothing like that. You actually get all of the same usability and space that you get in the standard Civic hatchback. So again, that's pretty amazing. Like I was talking about in the interior, that you can carry 4 adults. You got cup holders, you got all the features and technologies, a premium audio system, and you've got all this space back here, plus 60/40 rear folding seats. So when you push those down, you can fit all kinds of stuff in this car. It's really impressive. And I've seen a lot of the owners online kind of bragging about how much stuff you can actually fit back here. But with the rear seats up like this, you have 24.5 cubic feet of space, which, guys, that's actually pretty much on par with most of the small compact crossovers that are on the marketplace today. So you don't really lose out much by getting a Civic hatchback, let alone this Type R. There's even this kind of integrated cargo cover that kind of rolls out, stretches all the way to the other side. It can actually even be taken off to give you just a little bit more room. And then up here, there's another piece that's integrated, and this just kind of clips in and can come out really easily to, again, give you maximum cargo space if you need it. If you go ahead and lift up the floor here, you'll find basically a tire repair kit and a nice little foam casing, but of course, no compact spare or anything like that. Lastly, I'll call out that there is some lighting back here, which is helpful at night. And of course, you got the big subwoofer for that Bose premium sound system. So with that, next, let's go ahead and talk about this amazing powertrain. All right, next, let's go ahead and talk about the powertrain of the FL5 Civic Type R. Now, like I mentioned in the very beginning of the video, there's only really been 6 generations of Civic Type R. 3 of them were naturally aspirated, 3 of them are turbocharged, including this one here. Now, the powertrain that has been used in both the FK2, the FK8, and now this FL5, of course, has gone through several revisions, several upgrades to not only improve the overall performance and specs, but also the drivability and an overall engine response. It's quite a different driving experience from driving one of the older FK2s that was launched in Europe. Now, let's talk about the version that's in here. So this is Honda's 2-liter VTEC turbo 4-cylinder engine. Now, in this configuration, it makes 315 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. It's mated exclusively to a 6-speed manual transmission, and it is front-wheel drive. Now, as we'll talk about in the drive though, it does have Honda's special front dual-axis suspension, which again, pays tons of dividends for the overall driving dynamics and driving experience. But there's no better way than to prove that out than to get behind the wheel. So next, let's go ahead and take this thing for a drive.
All right, guys, here we are inside the 2025 Honda Civic Type R, and we're gonna go ahead and take this thing for a drive. So grab my red seat belt and put that in, clutch in, hit the engine start stop button, starts right up. And yeah, just like always, we'll go through the same drive route. We'll, talk about the different drive modes and just kind of give my impressions. So yeah, there's a lot of people that still wish there was a, manual handbrake or a side brake. But the good thing about having an electronic parking brake is you don't always have to manually disengage it. So in this case, because you got a, manual transmission, you put the clutch in, go into gear, and then as you start to take off and let out of the clutch, it'll automatically disengage the parking brake for you. So yeah, kind of a nice feature. So I'm actually starting off in the comfort mode, kind of lowest setting for Type R, and we'll just go ahead and drive in this for a second. And the drive modes in Type R there's a big gap in between each one. It's pretty noticeable across the board, whether it's the engine sound, the suspension, the steering feel, across the board, it feels like a very different car in each of the drive modes. So when you're driving in comfort mode, the suspension is in its softest setting, the steering is at its lightest, but even then, it's not very light, which I think is kind of a good thing. You still have like this kind of dynamic handling even in comfort mode. Sure, the throttle's dialed back in comfort mode, but I mean, if you get into it, this car still gets up. It just doesn't have maybe the immediacy of some of the other like Sport and Plus R drive modes, but still not slow by any means driving in comfort mode. But I think the biggest thing is just like you can actually get decent fuel economy in comfort mode too, especially if you're like just kind of at cruising speed on the highway. I think it's probably pretty easy to get into the high 20 mpgs. I'm sure if you hyper mile it, you might be able to get 30 out of it, but for the most part, it's pretty livable. And it's nice that it has this kind of dual personality, right? This kind of like daily driver in comfort mode, and then racetrack beats in Plus R. So still driving in comfort mode. Yeah, of course this car has a lot of road noise to it, and a lot of it is just again, the suspension is a little harsh even in this comfort setting, so you just get a lot of the undulations and road noise into the cabin. But it is a Type R. I mean, it's kind of like what to expect, and it's not bad. It's not overly drowning. It's not overly droning in the, especially during driving in the city. So it's not too bad. But here we are. I'm gonna stay in comfort mode for this. So we're gonna go over these train tracks here. I'm gonna try to get to about 35 miles an hour. We're gonna go over this first one. Is not too bad, but just to give you an idea, yeah, a lot of noise. A little bit of vibration into the cabin, but overall handled it pretty good. The next one, same thing, fourth gear, gonna just cruise over about 35 miles an hour. This one is a little bit more aggressive, so let's see how the Type R does over it. And again, this is in the comfort suspension setting, so here we go. I mean, that was pretty good, but you know what, watch this. I'm just gonna show you the difference. I'm actually gonna bust a U-turn here and go back, just so you can see the difference. I was in comfort mode. We're gonna jump ahead to Plus R. We're gonna come back. I'm gonna do the same thing. Going back over it now in comfort. Here we go. Yeah, kind of rock around a little bit of road noise. But I'm gonna do that same thing again. I'm gonna switch into Plus R. I'm skipping over Sport because the point is the difference in suspension harshness and setting 4 Plus R. So here we go. I'm going to try to get up to 35 miles an hour real quick here. And this is in the Plus R setting. Here's the difference. Okay, it wasn't as big as I thought, but I definitely kind of moved around a little bit more. So I'm going to quickly go back down into sport mode and kind of meet in the middle here. So sport is like the default setting, and there you automatically notice, you know, the suspension gets a little bit tauter, the throttle response gets definitely sharper, a little bit more engine noise, and the handling gets even more precise. Like, man, sport, again, I guess this is why this is the default setting, because this would be just a perfect day-to-day setup. You get a blend of performance, but it's still not overly harsh and in your face, because I mean that's really what, you know, Plus R is for. So here in sport mode, starting to get the LED shift lights. I mean, this car is quick. It's definitely not slow, especially at speed. So now we're gonna do this one little stretch. We're gonna switch into Plus R, just go full attack here. So I got no one coming, which is nice. I'm gonna take off. So start in first gear, shift right before red line, ride it out, shift it again. Yeah, doing some really good speeds. This car is not slow, guys. It is fast, and especially once you're at speed, man. The problem is, right, is we all know this car is front wheel drive, right? And even with the dual axis front, you know, suspension, yes, it mostly, you know, in most cases eliminates torque steer. It's mostly gone. You can pretty much, you know, floor this car and go straight. It won't yank the, you know, the handle won't be yanked from your hands. You know, it'll stay straight. But even still, it's front wheel drive. So, you know, part of the reason why, you know, some of the other all-wheel drive competitors may be faster 0 to 60 is, again, you can kind of just be lazy, dump the clutch, the all-wheel drive system kicks in, and it pushes you forward. But the problem is I feel like, you know, a lot of people don't know how to launch this car, don't know how to properly get off from a start. Because if you try to do that same method in this car, you're just going to spin the wheels, you're going to bog it down, you're really not going to go anywhere. But if you kind of just roll into it, that's how you launch this car. And it really makes a big difference, 0 to 60. It makes, I mean, overall, I'm sure it would make a big difference if you were running something like a quarter mile, right? So the key is you kind of really have to like feather it out of first. Don't get overly aggressive. I know you're like, the initial instinct is just to go wide open throttle and floor it. But again, if you do that, you're not gonna go anywhere. So you kind of have to like ease into it, slowly let out the clutch, get just enough traction. I will usually like shift a little early in first gear, because again, if you start getting way high in the RPMs and then try to get aggressive and shift, again, the car sometimes will bog down. So I usually kind of, you know, short shift or kind of shift a little bit early just so you can get traction. And then generally you have to kind of slowly roll into second gear, but then from there you're flat out. And just those little like techniques and that difference, that makes a big overall difference in the acceleration and the performance. And again, I think a lot of people just, you know, kind of get into it from the, you know, from a flat zero start and are disappointed because, you know, the car doesn't go anywhere. But again, you have to realize the drivetrain, you have to realize how much power is being sent to the front wheels and how to manage it to get the best performance. So for me, I actually really like that. It shows that you got to know what you're doing and you got to have some kind of technique through all of it. But here we are. I'm staying at Plus R, and the next reason why is because I want to go over this turn and show you the handling. So here we go. We're gonna get into the brakes. It wasn't even full, but into the brakes. The brakes are fantastic. The handling is insane. Acceleration is just as good, but here's another stab of the brakes right now. Oh, and it just like keeps the car dead straight, and you just come and stop on a dime. Man, if you guys have never driven this car, you need to go drive a Civic Type R. It is the real deal. The hype is there on this car, but it's well deserved, right? And a lot of it is the heritage, the lineage. Like, Honda has gotten so good at tuning the handling and the chassis of these front wheel drive platforms that if you just did a blind test with someone, they wouldn't know that this car is an all-wheel drive, except from a start. But otherwise, you don't lose out on any performance. And I'll be, for full transparency, say that this is coming from someone that has owned several all-wheel drive cars, including a Mitsubishi Evo, a Focus RS. I get it. I've driven those cars, owned them, but there's something to be said about the dynamic handling of this car. And part of it too is the fact that it's not all-wheel drive. The car is usually lighter than its all-wheel drive competitors, and you feel it in the handling. So one last blast here, guy. I know it's a little bit longer drive, but here we go. Again, into the brakes. The brakes are just fantastic. And then one last little turn up here to show the handling. Oh, great shift. And then watch, guys, look at this. So, guys, let me know your guys' thoughts down below. Let me know what you think is the best hot hatch in this segment. Let me know if you want to see other competitors to Type R on Drive Culture, because of course I'm happy to bring you that content. And with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this drive review.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. What did you think of the 2025 Honda Civic Type R? Is this latest FL5 the best of all 6 generations of Type R? Let me know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Also, let me know if you want to see other generations of Type R here on Drive Culture, because of course I'd be happy to bring you that content. So if you joined me before, thank you so much. But if you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. Thanks, and we'll see you at the next episode.